Afternoon. It is 12:30 on Thursday, time for our Team Kentucky update. We've talked a lot about how we are living through two very historic moments. One, COVID, difficult, dark, tragic. The other, an economy on fire with so much promise for the future. I normally start these Thursday Team Kentucky updates in talking about our difficult historic moment. Today, we're going to flip that around. We're going to start with some positivity because we've got a special opportunity to be joined today by one of the companies that is helping to make that happen. Despite the challenges posed by COVID, we continue to see amazing economic progress across the Commonwealth week after week. We know Kentucky's time is now, our future is now, and we have a number of really exciting announcements that will lift up every part of the Commonwealth today. We're going to start by talking about Ragent Corporation, a cutting-edge technology company that provides kinetic mesh wireless networks, which are used by everybody from the military to the NFL. It allows the use of mobile communications in some of the world's harshest and most challenging environments. Based in Pennsylvania, Ragent has a presence and has had a presence in Moorhead since 2015. Today, Ragent is taking its commitment to the Commonwealth to a new level, and we could not be happier. I'm happy to welcome virtually today Ragent CEO Robert Scanna, who is joining us via video for more. Welcome, Robert.
Governor, thank you for including us today.
Thank you for being here.
Go ahead.
Thank you for being here with us.
Okay. We're very excited today. We're having a grand opening and a groundbreaking ceremony at our new Moorhead facility. We have just, in the last year or so, bought a 48,000 square foot building here in Moorhead, and we're completing the build out of the first 15,000 square feet. We've been in Moorhead for 5 years and hired almost everybody from our employees, which are about 30 right now, from Moorhead State University, and more than half of those from the Space and Science Center. And that Space and Science Center has been really a gem for us to find at Ragent Corporation. Those young people, as you know, hand build satellites, one of which in the next 6 to 12 months will be going to the moon. And those employees, when we hire them, I mean, they come to work on a Monday and they're contributing on Tuesday. They're very smart, very well trained. They have the work ethic that I find common to this area of Kentucky. And it's really been great for us. And I want to give you, you mentioned something about our military experience, and I thought you would enjoy this anecdote. It's an important anecdote. A few weeks ago, during the evacuation of the Kabul airport in Afghanistan, the Taliban launched several rocket attacks on the folks at the airport, including American citizens and soldiers. And the U.S. Army had deployed a system called CRAM, Counter Rocket Artillery and Mortar. And that system utilizes radios built by Ragent in Moorhead. And that system successfully performed live under fire, shot the rockets down, and saved lives during that evacuation. And I just thought that the folks watching should understand and know that technology was built and assembled by Kentuckians from Eastern Kentucky. So I thought I'd pass that along. Additionally, go ahead, Governor.
I was going to say we couldn't be more excited, and we know the number of fields that you all work in. That through Moorhead, working with you, we've got an impact all over the country and all over the world.
That's correct. We're doing our products now used in 68 countries. And almost all of our assembly now is done here in Moorhead, and we're planning on expanding. It's my goal to take this facility from 30 people to 100 people over the next few years, and we'll be adding folks with all kinds of backgrounds, from manufacturing and assembly up to artificial intelligence research and even genetics research as we branch into healthcare as well as part of our expansion here in Kentucky.
We are so proud that you have chosen to call Kentucky one of your homes. We can't wait to help you expand further. Congratulations.
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate the time.
So Robert will be doing the groundbreaking in about 25 minutes with Rocky, who is up there because we couldn't have something in Moorhead without Rocky being there. But this is a cutting edge company. This is truly, when we talk about aerospace and jobs of the future, exactly what we are looking for. And they have partnered with one of our universities in a very specific area that's one of the best in. I think this is just a great story about where we're going and how higher education is helping us to get there. Again today, the leaders at Regent are cutting the ribbon on the new 48,000 square foot facility in Moorhead. High-tech company provides equipment and services to a range of sectors: military, mining, public safety, agriculture, and a number of others. So in 2020, it announced that the company would create 26 jobs in Rowan County with their expansion. But today, as Robert mentioned, that figure has grown to over 100 jobs with approximately $2 million in investment. It is a significant expansion, and we thank this company. We thank Robert for his faith in Kentucky. He is here a bunch. We consider him one of our own, and someday I'll convince him to pay taxes here. Next, I'm happy to highlight some very good news from Trigg County. This is at least our second Trigg County jobs announcement here this year. Today, I'm announcing that Load Covering Solutions, a producer of retractable tarps for the transportation industry, plans to construct its first Kentucky facility in Cadiz. The project will create up to 30 quality jobs for Kentuckians in the coming years, with a 12,000 square foot manufacturing and installation plant that is going to open late summer of 2022. Operations at the new facility will include production, assembly, service, and repair of LCS's retractable tarp system, which provide a quick, low-effort way to cover and uncover cargo being hauled on commercial trucks and trailers. Based in Canada, LCS has experienced strong growth and increased demand for its products in the U.S., and its new Kentucky facility will help power the future expansion. Our state appealed to LCS in large part because of our proximity to the Interstate Highway 24 corridor in western Kentucky, providing premier access to the Midwest and the Mid-South markets. In addition to the career opportunities LCS will provide to residents in and around Trigg County, the company will add to the array of high-quality manufacturers located throughout the Commonwealth, as well as a wide range of Canadian companies, especially recently finding their home, sometimes their first home, in the United States in Kentucky. I'm very thankful LCS leaders chose to bring their business to Western Kentucky, and I wish them the best as they approach breaking ground on the facility this fall. But it continues. We have some more great news for far Western Kentucky, where the region is experiencing a resurgence in jobs, economic investment, and the prosperity in the form of a paper mill. In late 2015, the mill's former owner idled the facility in Wickliffe, a city of about 670 people, at the confluence of the Mississippi and the Ohio rivers, and then they closed it in July of 2016. That put the mill's 310 employees out of work. Think about that, 310 employees in or around a city of 670, just devastating Wickliffe. The mill is by far the largest private employer in both Ballard County and Carlisle County. 2 years later, one of China's largest paper companies, Shanying, bought the mill and began investing $150 million to modernize and restart it. They renamed it Phoenix Paper. The facility reopened exactly 3 years ago, and now it produces pulp, free sheet writing and printing paper, and convertible paper used in packaging. Phoenix Paper currently employs 300 people, some of whom are third and fourth generation paper makers. Reinvestment in the mill continues. Just last month, contractors finished a $5 million recommissioning of the mill's pulp dryer. The project makes the mill more efficient and allows the addition of a baled pulp product line. Today, I'd like to welcome Mr. Michael Grimm to Kentucky and congratulate him on being named president and CEO of Global Wind Capital Corporation, the North American parent company of Phoenix Paper. Mike is locating in the Paducah region to support the mill, its expansion and reinvestment projects, and plans to be active in the community. Mike is an engineer by trade who brings 30 years of manufacturing background to this important position. Congratulations to Mike, and thanks to Global Wind and Phoenix Paper for this continued investment. I anticipate seeing more great developments as Phoenix Paper continues to grow and its ongoing success. And it's not every day we get somebody like Michael moving to Kentucky. So everybody welcome him and encourage him to do as much as possible to help us in this economic resurgence. We have more. I also want to recognize a longstanding Kentucky company celebrating a major milestone today. Toyota Boshoku primarily manufactures automotive door, rim, and exterior components. And this company, they reached their milestone of 30 years of operation in Bardstown. This is a company with a significant presence in our state. It also has facilities in Lebanon and Harrodsburg, and the latter celebrating a 30th anniversary of its own back in 2018. I want to thank this company for being such a quality employer in our state, and we look forward to another 30 plus years. All these great announcements and investments coming to Kentucky mean we are delivering on the promise of more and better jobs in every corner of Kentucky. As you'll notice, these announcements, people used to think they were always going to, say, the Golden Triangle or just a couple of places. They are truly spreading prosperity everywhere. As part of that, earlier this week, Amazon, which is an incredibly important Team Kentucky partner, announced plans to hire 125,000 employees across the country. I'm excited to announce that 4,000 of those jobs are available right here in Kentucky. These jobs will largely be in fulfillment and transportation, and on average will pay more than $18 an hour, with up to a $3,000 sign-on bonus in select locations, comprehensive benefits, and access to training programs to help employees to launch into long-term careers. Kentuckians interested in one of these openings can apply and learn more at amazon.com/apply. Amazon sees exactly what we're doing here in Kentucky. Huge numbers of hiring. You look at this, you look at Northern Kentucky, and this is becoming one of the centers of the Amazon universe, and we're excited to be a part of that. So Kentucky's economy is on fire. Our future is right now. I believe we're on the cusp of a period of economic growth like none that we have ever seen, where no one will ever look down their nose at us again, where we are in every conversation in any boardroom in any part of this country or the world, and we are never a flyover state again. We are right there. We see it every day. We feel it. And this is a tremendous and incredible opportunity. We're approaching $3 billion of new investment this year. We think we will double or potentially triple that by the end of the year. We've already announced the creation of more than 6,600 full-time jobs this year. We expect that we may well double that by the end of the year. And our hourly wage for these new announced jobs is the second highest in our history. More jobs in more parts of Kentucky, paying better than they ever have before. Folks, that is something to be really excited about. It was everything from the largest project in Western Kentucky in 25 years, Pratt Paper in Henderson, 320 jobs, $400 million investment. Fruhoff, 288 jobs in Bowling Green. Kruger, 150 jobs in E-Town. Veland North America, 75 jobs in Louisville, 75 in Shelby County. 250 new jobs in Whitley County, thanks to Firestone. 700 jobs in Simpsonville, thanks to Kentuckiana Curb. Metalco, 60 new jobs in their facility in Franklin. Nucor Tubular Products, Nucor continuing to do more. 72 new jobs in Gallatin County. And then Fidelity Investments, 600 plus new professional jobs in Covington. Again, our future is now. And folks, we're seeing it in our numbers. Today, we have information out where our unemployment rate continues to fall, now down to 4.3%. That is down 0.1% from last month, but it's down 1.2% from last year. That's a pretty good drop, a drop of 1.2% for a year. And we're seeing strong job growth. That was what Kentucky Center for Business and Economic Research Director Mike Clark talked about. And then in so many sectors, significant growth. So compared to last year, and these are a couple statistics that are in here, Kentucky's manufacturing employment up 14,600 filled jobs. Since last year, healthcare up 8,300 filled jobs. Professional and business service up 2,100 filled jobs. Management companies up 2,200 filled jobs. Transportation utilities up 1,000 filled jobs. Construction sector up 4,400 positions from a year ago. Leisure and hospitality up 7,900 jobs from a year ago. So incredible momentum. Yes, we have some challenges. Yes, we have an economy that is so on fire coming out of this pandemic so quickly that we do have some labor challenges. But these are all challenges that we have hoped and prayed for, not just during COVID, but for so long. They are the challenges that come with success. So even in this difficult time of COVID, which we're going to turn to now, we see really bright spots in our future, especially as related to our economy. But now making what is always the tough turn. To get there, we got to get through the most difficult time, I think, of any of our lives. And the situation continues to be dire, and we need for people to continue to do their very best to protect themselves and their families. Our hospitals are hit so hard. As of today, and this always fluctuates day to day, we have 93 total adult ICU beds left. We've only been under 100 3 times in this pandemic. They've all been recent. 66 of 96 of our hospitals are critical staffing shortages, and none of the others are very far from it. We have 25 kids in the hospital because of COVID right now, some of the highest that we have ever seen. We'll show you in a minute on monoclonal antibodies. We are very quickly approaching using more treatments per week than we are going to receive in the future. And our hospitals, whether it's UK Healthcare, which is having to expand ICU beds and put multiple patients in rooms, having 100% occupancy for adult ICU, or whether it's Harrison Memorial, which we're going to hear from now, they are truly struggling. And the message you will hear is one of grief and one of tragedy and one of difficulty. But I hope that you also hear very clearly that the number one thing that we can do to get through this is to get vaccinated. By percentage, 90+% of folks that end up hospitalized are unvaccinated. So how do we not overrun our hospitals? We get vaccinated. And I think that the tough conversations we're having are getting through. I've had a couple of reported success stories this week, but we need a lot more. And so today, first, we're going to hear from Harrison Memorial Hospital in Cynthiana, one of the front lines of the pandemic. They had the very first case of COVID confirmed in their city. This week, Harrison Memorial has experienced a surge unlike never before, with record positivity rate, record patients in the emergency room, and inpatients with COVID. I want to thank Dr. Steve Toadvine, Chief Executive Officer, for speaking with us today and for lifting up our healthcare heroes at his hospital. Let's join him. Let's lift up these healthcare heroes, and let's do the things like vaccinations and masking where we can truly be of help to them.
My name is Steve Toadvine. I am the CEO at Harrison Memorial Hospital in Cynthiana. Despite our hospital being ground zero in Kentucky for the onset of the pandemic 18 months ago, this week we are being hit with the COVID surge like never before since the onset of the pandemic. We are setting records in terms of our volumes of patients being seen in our emergency room and in our urgent treatment centers. Our test positivity rate in our COVID clinic is well exceeding 30%, and we've hit a high, all-time high in terms of the number of inpatients currently admitted with COVID. I am very grateful for those on the state level supplying support and guidance to us, as well as to those at our local health department, WEDCO. Also, recently we received some support, equipment, extra supplies through the Bluegrass Healthcare Coalition. I'm very thankful for all of this support. But I need to talk about our staff. Our staff has been incredible and truly awe-inspiring as I watch them at work. Our nurses, our respiratory therapists, our folks across every department in this hospital have been making great personal sacrifices, coming in, working long, working hard, working faster than normal, volunteering for extra shifts, refusing to go home at the end of the shift because they know their colleagues need help to handle the workload. Not just the workload itself, but to share with compassion in the pain and the suffering that so many patients and families are experiencing right now. I cannot say thank you enough. I stand in awe and watch the teamwork being displayed here on a daily basis, 24 hours a day. Truly, healthcare superheroes are at work right here.
Yeah. We appreciate Steve, and I know he wouldn't mind. I want to share part of an email that he wrote to us that gives you an idea of how his and every other hospital is truly struggling. He wrote, "We have reached maximum inpatient and critical care capacity and have an emergency need for respiratory equipment, ventilators, BiPAP, and Vapotherm. We're down to our last 3 ventilators and have 3 patients currently here at the hospital who are likely to be placed on these by tomorrow morning. We have no Vapotherms remaining in use and only 1 BiPAP. Obviously, we as the state are deploying more ventilators there. I think that they will get there. They should have gotten there this morning. But just think about a hospital when you run out of ventilators. It means that you have so many more people than you have ever seen on them." Next, we're going to hear from King's Daughter Medical Center in Ashland, because as hard as they have been hit, it's gotten worse this week. They're now concerned about oxygen pressure and the ability to support services needed like ventilators. They've canceled all emergency surgeries and have even had to order more ventilators to care for their patients. And as these healthcare heroes share with us today, these patients aren't older. They're all of us. These people are young people. And heartbreakingly, some are dying after just 24 to 48 hours. I want to thank Dr. Stacy Caudle, James Getz, Tracy Sanchez, and Josh Bryant for speaking with us today. And I hope everybody will listen. What you're going to hear is tough, is heart-wrenching, but is real, and is what we're going through, and is the type of information that needs to break through.
Hi, I'm Dr. Stacy Caudle. I'm one of the hospitalist directors and CMOs here at King's Daughters. Myself and some of my colleagues just wanted to give you an update of our current situation with COVID in our hospital. We have seen significant changes this week alone. We have been concerned about our oxygen pressure, being able to support all of the oxygen, BiPAP, and ventilators for these COVID patients. We have had to order 10 additional ventilators this week. And we have also had to cancel all elective surgeries in order to staff both our COVID units, ICU units, and the rest of our floors. We've seen an overwhelming volume of patients through our emergency department and through our urgent care. We have seen our positivity continue to increase, which tells us that in a couple of weeks, our admissions are only going to go up.
I've been in codes for people not just my age, but my kids' age. I think that when you see that, you really think it really scares us about going forward. I just ask everyone out there to get vaccinated to help all of us here.
Within the last month or so, we've been seeing 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 50-year-olds come in and within 24 hours, 48 hours die. Families are angry, they're lost. Patients are lost because they know they're dying. It's hard to tell someone who's 40 years old that they're going to be dead within 24 hours, and there's nothing we can do.
COVID is a very difficult disease to care for. Our treatment options are extremely limited, and oftentimes, despite our best efforts and all that we can do to try to help prevent the progression of this disease, people still worsen and people pass kind of regardless of whatever measures we can take. It's one thing to have an end-of-life conversation with someone who's had time to live and prepare, and it's a very different conversation to have when you're having this with a 20, a 30, a 40-year-old. The Delta variant it really seems to be affecting the younger population very differently.
In conclusion, I just wanted to add that all of the providers that you heard from are actually from this community. We are tired. We need your help. We need to do what we do best as a community and come together. Please help us save lives.
It's hard to tell a 40-year-old that they're going to be dead in 24 hours and there's nothing you can do. That's the seriousness of what we face. And the tragedy, that's a tragedy in and of itself. But the added tragedy is if they'd simply taken a shot, a vaccine, they wouldn't have been in the hospital in the first place, much less saying goodbye to this world and those they love within 24 hours. I start every day with a hospital report about how strained we are, and I end every day looking over a death list with people younger and younger on it, the growing percentage younger than I am every single day that I look at it. It is serious, and now's the time. We should have gotten, we should have been able to avoid this entire surge, but like I said before, to those that haven't gotten vaccinated, we're only pushing this hard because we care about you. Your families care about you. I care about you. All we want is for you to be safe. Not about control or anything else. All we want is for you to be safe. And if we knew better words or better ways to convince or to talk with you, we would. We just want to make sure you're here with us next year. So with hospitals hit this hard, we've been talking about the different things that we are doing to try to help. So first, we now have the National Guard, over 400 of our guardsmen and women all over the Commonwealth, located in more than 25 hospitals. I got to tell you, they have been welcomed in each and every location. I think it provided a morale boost because our Guard is ready in every mission they're on, and they come in ready to do the work and glad to be there because this is why they signed up and this is what they were called to do. What we've also seen is every hospital that they have been at, they've truly been able to free up more people to care for others and been a huge assistant. Second thing is we've gone to the hardest hit hospitals and their communities and provide testing. This frees up direct clinicians that then are able to help patients. That allows us to create more ICU and other beds. Again, these are the hardest hit ones. This list is likely to grow or to move, and it does not include all the school testing programs available to all 120 counties and all more than that school districts. This also doesn't show all the community testing that is already out there in every community that you can go to. Remember, if you need a COVID test, unless you're really sick, you should not be going to the hospital to get it. If you do, that nurse that is swabbing you, just know that there might be a patient without a bed that needs it. They can't get in or can't get the care they need because you didn't go to the drugstore. You went to the hospital. So please, for the love of everybody around you, if you need a COVID test, don't go to the hospital. All right, so National Guard testing. Third thing that has been a big help has been the deployment of nursing students. I got to tell you, our nursing programs have stepped up. Some of these we directly arranged. Some of them they reached out or vice versa with community hospitals. This has been I know a major relief, but I got to say, I'm really proud of these nursing programs stepping up and living out the mission. And these students are going to get absolutely incredible training. Think about learning to do your job in the toughest of situations. What an incredible group of healthcare practitioners they are going to be. And so if we look at the map and putting them all together, we are certainly working really hard to provide as much help as we possibly can all over the state. But remember, we wouldn't have to do any of this because we wouldn't have the surge that we're having. We wouldn't have full hospitals if we get everybody vaccinated. So today, our vaccine update, we now have 2,631,420 Kentuckians with at least their very first shot of hope. We now have 2 counties with over 3/4 of all their residents vaccinated. That is Woodford and Franklin County, followed by Fayette, which is the only other county over 70 at 72. And then we have 2 counties that have more than 2/3 of their residents vaccinated. That is Boone and Jefferson County. Keep up the good work. Updating just our age demographics today because we had a change. First, we now can calculate with the new census numbers, the overall Kentuckians, 59%. That includes those that are not eligible, 11 and under. But 59% of all Kentuckians having at least one shot. 12 and over, these are eligible Kentuckians. How many people that are allowed to get the shot have? We are close to 70%. And our total 18 and older, those are people that can make their own decision, not needing parental consent, at 71%. This also, though, ought to highlight how dangerous the Delta variant is, because even with these numbers, which, in the beginning having 60% of everybody, 71%, 18 and up would seem like large percentages. The Delta variant is so aggressive that if you are unvaccinated, it's going to find you. It's going to make you really sick. And the impact that it can have on a community, even to those that don't have COVID, it can mean that an emergency room can't take the next car wreck is significant. So looking at the demographics, 65 and up has stayed the same. 91% is great. But we still have a lot of people, 65 and up, that are passing away. That's the 9%. And also, it's also the group that is likeliest, if they are a breakthrough case, to have a bad result. Remember, your likelihood of having a breakthrough case is your amount of exposure to people who have COVID, oftentimes being unvaccinated. I sadly know a story of someone that I knew well, who passed away in a breakthrough case where someone around them refused to wear a mask and do any of the rest, and thus is not here today. So please take care of everybody out there. 50 to 64, up 1% to 79%. 40 to 49 and 30 to 39 unchanged at 68 and 62%. 18 to 29 finally broke over the halfway mark at 50%. And finally, 12 to 17, only 46%, up 8%. But listen, that 12 to 29, and I know we measure them differently in the incident rates, that's who's getting COVID the very most out there. And it is no coincidence. In fact, it's a direct relationship that the least vaccinated age groups are getting COVID the most. So we very much need to see improvement there. Let's look at the vaccination status of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. We've been able to update this with a lot more data. As you can see, still 87.1% of cases in folks that are not fully vaccinated. What this means is, yes, there are breakthrough cases, but when you look at the second piece, look, 92.1% of people hospitalized aren't fully vaccinated. That means that, yes, you might get a breakthrough case, but if you are vaccinated, you are very unlikely to end up in the hospital. And then we look at deaths, about 85% of all deaths in unvaccinated individuals. We actually hope that this statistic will get better for vaccinated individuals as boosters are now available to the immunocompromised and those we talked about in the beginning of the pandemic with heart, lung, and kidney disease. Getting that extra boost, we hope will further help the vaccinated. But again, this just shows the risk you are at if you are unvaccinated. Showing it the other way that we do. With the rate of COVID by vaccination status, this again gives you the concept of how much extra protection that you get. It's ranged anywhere when we get the data in from 4 to 6 times more protected if you are vaccinated. Right now at 4.5. This is even with the Delta variant. Right now, better protection than when the vaccine first came out against the original strain. Better protection than just about any time in this pandemic. And as a reminder, the Delta variant is preying on younger people, not just with cases and hospitalizations, but with death. Let's put up the age distribution of COVID-19 deaths. You know, early in the pandemic was tragic. We lost a lot of our grandparents. We lost a lot of our seniors. They were almost 3/4 at one time of everybody that we lost. That is very different now. With younger Kentuckians, I mean, look at the 30 to 49 group. The death by percentage has increased 5.5 times. That is really significant. And I'm telling you, for younger people, this is only going to get worse with what we're seeing every day and what we're hearing. I know of at least 5 deaths of people in their 20s that haven't made it to us yet. And today, we're going to report over 60 deaths, folks. Over 60 deaths. Once we have all those big cases, the death follows. It's going to be a tough period of time, and a lot of people that didn't think that COVID could get them, unfortunately, is. So we need people to do the right things. We also need people to get vaccinated because we are seeing a national shortage of monoclonal antibodies. We've talked about that a lot, especially since the special session. This is an infusion primarily that has shown great promise. It's been a treatment that's better than most, but still it's going up against a very deadly virus. And we've had people who've gotten it that still don't make it. So even before this national shortage, we were trying to tell people the truth that you can't rely on the treatment. You need to rely on the prevention. I mean, it's really rolling the dice if you say it's okay if I get a deadly virus because the treatment might get me better. No, the answer is get the vaccine and don't get the deadly virus or to already be protected from it. So we were talking about all that before the news that we got, I think, Monday at the close of business. And that is based on a national shortage. The federal government is now going to start rationing monoclonal antibody treatments to states. And we are going to have a limited amount. We can put up the line graph, and I'll talk about this in a second. What it means is the amount of treatments we are doing really right now, but certainly by next week, given our growth, because folks are doing more and more of them, is probably going to reach the full supply we will have in weeks to come, meaning we're going to be at a point within, I think, a week where there are going to be folks that want and probably need this treatment, and we are not going to have enough of it. That ought to, again, be another reason that folks go out and get the vaccine, because that treatment won't be there for many of them. And there is nothing that we're going to be able to do to change that. And it's going to be, I know, tragic when someone who didn't get the vaccine comes in sick and there is no antibody treatment for them. Dr. Stack has been showing this. It is shown how much how much we have increased our number of treatments per. This is per week. And I will tell you, I don't think in the future that we will have 5,000 treatments in this state per week. So according to this graph, we are already over the supply we expect to have for next week. And the blue graph is what we have on hand. That is very quickly, that's the extra we have. That is very quickly going to intersect with the bottom line, and they will be the same. Meaning, if you think about 5,000 this week, if let's say it would jump to 6,000 people needing it next week, and we only have 4,500 probably at best treatments, That's going to be at least 1,500 people that need this treatment that are not going to get it. We cannot rely on monoclonal antibodies. We have to get vaccinated. And we're losing people left and right, special people that have made such an incredible mark on our Commonwealth. So this week we're remembering Amanda Nutt, who was a 36-year-old teacher with the Caverna Independent Schools in Horse Cave, who died from COVID-19. We spoke with school officials who said Amanda was the teacher who would not let kids fail. She got involved in their lives in and out of the classroom. She was the mom to so many at the school and even outside of the school. Her loss is felt by students and faculty and the community all alike. We've all had teachers that have made a huge impact on us. I remember them, the ones who we credit for our success. Amanda was that teacher to so many. Tonight, as we light our homes up green, let us lift Amanda's family and the entire Caverna School District up in prayer. This is why we turn on our green lights. This is a community that is grieving, that when they look out in the darkness, are going to see that light of compassion, are going to see that people care. So if you're in that community or any others and you put those lights up, it's time to get them out, because we're about to go through a really tough time. And you never know what person needing to get out, needing to breathe, gets in their car, drives around a little bit, and that just putting those lights on at your house makes them feel just a little bit better. I urge that all schools that haven't already instituted a mask mandate to do so. We see school districts all over the country that don't do it lose people like Amanda. Taking a little grief from some folks in your community is worth it if we can keep these special people, special teachers around with us. Amanda, we will miss you. To her family, we love and care about you. I hope this entire Commonwealth will wrap their arms around you. One last quick update, and then we're going to get a message on the flu shot from Dr. Stack, because his job is bigger than just COVID, and we want to make sure that we don't have, what do they call it, the twin-demic with flu, and that's all we need is a twin-demic and COVID. So I want to give a quick update on the Healthy at Home Eviction Relief Fund. So throughout the pandemic, we've turned over every stone to find ways to help Kentuckians to make it through. To help Kentuckians impacted by COVID, we set up the Healthy at Home Eviction Relief Fund, which has provided emergency rental assistance to thousands of landlords and renters. We've now provided more than $65 million to help Kentuckians stay in their homes, to keep their lights on, their water running, and to make sure they don't emerge from this in such debt that they can't climb out. In 2020, with our partners at the Kentucky Housing Corporation, we utilized CARES Act funding to provide $14.6 million in rental assistance to 4,140 homes over 4 months. Earlier this year, we received $297 million in federal funds. And there are 3 programs there, one in Lexington, one in Louisville, and one for the rest of the state. Louisville received $22.8 million, Lexington $9.6 million. And in February, we launched the Healthy at Home Eviction Relief Fund with $264 million for the 118 other counties. Kentucky is one of the first 6 states to launch the program because you can't wait when people need help. This round, since March, we've distributed $51.1 million in rental and utility assistance to 9,727 Kentucky households, average assistance of about $5,200 per household. The program is key to helping tenants, landlords, and utilities weather this pandemic. Over 90% of payments have been made directly to landlords and utilities across Kentucky. This includes $45.1 million in rent assistance and $6.4 million in utility assistance. In July, we paid out more than $11.1 million to Kentuckians and paid out more than $9.3 million in August. Housing corporations worked hard. They've had to hire extra people, utilizing extra vendors to help. The program's received 17,257 completed applications, and we continue to see more Kentuckians apply, and you should. Tenants submitted more than 600 new applications just last week. Unfortunately, there have been more fraudulent applications as of late, which is taking staff time that would be used to helping Kentuckians who could use the assistance. So we're partnering with the Administrative Office of the Courts to avoid as many evictions as possible. We're fast tracking any application with an eviction in a court case. County clerks are handing out our Healthy at Home eviction relief flyers to landlords when they file for eviction. So if you're served with an eviction notice, attend your eviction hearing. It's important to show up and to plead your case. Ask your judge for additional time so that you can apply for this program. Contact your local legal aid for help. A list of regions are on the screen. Speak with the landlord. Offer to apply for this program. There is money there that can pay off what you owe not only in the past, but help going forward. And then apply. Apply with us, apply with Lexington, apply with Louisville. We want you to stay in your home. Let me say that the evictions based on non-payment that are occurring right now are avoidable. There is money out there for each and every one of them that we know about. This means that you, the business person, will actually get paid in a situation where you otherwise wouldn't, and your tenant can stay healthy in their home. So we encourage them. There's $152 million still available. 152 for rent and utilities. So please apply, go online. It is teamkyhherf.ky.org. All right, with that, I'm going to turn over to Dr. Steck to talk about flu season. We're going to come back and we've got a pretty neat Kentucky All-Star, and then we'll answer some questions.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. So we actually had this discussion last year. People talked about a twindemic last year, and the same threat is present this year. You know, in the summer, we have more trauma-related injuries that take up space in the hospital. In the winter, we have more respiratory and other types of infectious diseases because we're driven indoors because of the cold weather, and we're generally closer together. With influenza, the virus mutates in a different way than the COVID virus and certain other viruses. So every year they have to create a new vaccination that they try to use the prevailing evidence, what strains of flu A and flu B are more likely to be circulating in the community. So this year they've updated the flu virus like they do other years, and both of the flu A strains, I understand, have been updated. The vaccine is now available. Not every doctor's office may yet have it. It starts getting shipped out in the fall, and people generally get vaccinated September, October, and even into November. Flu season is typically the beginning of October through the end of May. In a typical winter, flu always drives up the number of people in the hospital. In bad years, and there's really no reliable way to predict which year is going to be worse than one versus the other, but in a bad year, hospitals really get strained or taxed with the number of influenza patients who fill them. The flu vaccine, though it doesn't have the same high rate of protectiveness as the COVID vaccine, does protect large numbers of people and prevent substantial burden to the hospitals. So if we all get immunized for the flu, we can keep the hospitals with more capacity and more able to care for COVID patients and other patients as well. Now, remember, the same things that we keep telling you to do for COVID work for influenza. In fact, they work even better for influenza. Typically, one person with the flu may infect two other people. It's much higher than that for the COVID Delta variant. So one person who's infected with COVID Delta may infect 6 or more additional people. So if you wear a mask, if you cover your cough, if you stay home if you're sick, if you do those things, we can make the flu not be a threat this year. Oh, and by the way, get vaccinated, because if you get the flu shot and you get the COVID shot, you're going to lower your risk for both of these conditions. Let me give you one other thing. As the kids come back into school, as they're circulating with each other, they spread infection among each other very, very easily. So RSV is another viral infection that doesn't generally cause significant illness in adults, other than maybe the common cold. But in little kids, 18 months and under, 2 years or less, those age range children can get really sick with RSV sometimes. And that had already started unseasonally to fill up some of the pediatric beds as early as August this year, which is uncommon. So we shut all of these down, RSV and influenza, and we caused 3 plateaus to the COVID surge, all by using masks, increasing our physical distancing from each other, and now getting vaccinated, which we know dramatically protects people from getting sick with COVID, and also has been well shown over many years to help people avoid getting really sick with the flu. So folks, it's really, really important. These vaccines make an incredibly positive impact on our lives. They keep us healthier and safe from disease we don't need to have. And right now, when the hospitals are really on the brink of the worst distress, I think any one of us who live in Kentucky has seen in our entire professional career, it's really, really important that we all do our part to keep ourselves safe, but also to make sure we don't need to be in the hospital at a time when there just aren't enough beds to go around. Thank you very much, Governor.
All right. And today's Team Kentucky All-Star is 9-year-old Brody Fromholt. He's an advocate for other kids across the country who have Usher Syndrome like he does. Usher Syndrome is a rare genetic disorder that impacts 3 major senses in the body: vision, hearing, and balance. At least 25,000 people in the United States are affected. Although there is no cure, we know that early intervention can make a difference. We're fortunate to have a supportive community here in Kentucky with leaders like Virginia Moore, who I can't see, but I know is joining us right now. And of course, Brody's mom and her entire team at Heiser Hearing. And of course, First Steps and preschool opportunities play an important role. Together, we can make a difference for those impacted by Usher Syndrome through increased education through the Commonwealth and around the world. Although this is an invisible disease, it's critical to do our part to address it and help those living with it. Brody, I know your parents, Katie and Jordan, are so proud of you, and all of us at Team Kentucky are too. That's why we're joining your efforts to help raise awareness by recognizing Saturday, September 18th as Usher Syndrome Awareness Day in the Commonwealth. Got a chance to meet Brody today and to sign that proclamation. And he came in and displayed his knowledge, wanted to help kids that were dealing with the same thing. What an incredible kiddo and family. It was very, very special to have him. An incredible all-star, willing to share his story with the rest of the state to help people out. Brody, you're the man. We care about you, and congratulations. He also got to sit in the chair and be governor for a few minutes. I don't think he called a special session. We'll find out a little bit later. We have 2 journalists here with us, more on the line. So we'll start with Tom Latek.
Thanks, Governor. I've got 2 I'll throw at you. They're quickie. Is there a deadline to apply or to have the money spent that's in the eviction fund? And secondly, if the Kentucky National Guard is deployed for longer than 30 days, do you run afoul of the General Assembly potentially?
So no, I do not run afoul of the General Assembly with the National Guard deployed. I'm able to deploy them through the nationwide state of emergency. And in a normal situation, we would not get the federal government's match because the Stafford Act would have to have a state of emergency continuing. That's not the case here in how it has been done. Let us get you the answer for the deadline on the eviction relief fund. I know that there is one, but I think it's over 1.5 years away. But we'll get you that. Carolina.
We've been getting quite a few emails and phone calls about people concerned with COVID situations in jails and prisons right now. Are you guys hearing anything on the statewide level? Are these places being overrun right now by COVID?
So jails and prisons are congregate settings where people are close together. And as we saw, especially during the previous surges, one case can spread very, very quickly, and it can have significant and even deadly consequences. I know that the jail in Louisville is at a critical point, but it's not because of those in the jail having COVID. It's the amount of corrections officers, jail employees that are out with COVID at the moment. I think we have had a outbreak at one of our facilities at the moment, but just one. Our monitoring program is a lot better now. We actually test the wastewater coming out of each facility, which gives us an earlier indication of when it is. But the Delta variant, with its ability to break through, certainly makes it very concerning in those facilities, as does the low percentage of corrections officers that are vaccinated. I think these are families that are worried, and I understand why they're worried, but we're going to continue to monitor the situations where we're involved in the prisons and then respond as quickly as we can. I will say our state prisoners are vaccinated at an incredibly high rate, anywhere from 80 to 90+%, and it's our job to keep offering those vaccines, right, as people come in. Joe Sonka from the Courier-Journal.
Thank you, Governor. On Monday, you said that you were taking an initial look at testing requirements for state employees outside of prisons and the congregate care settings where the unvaccinated are tested pretty regularly. Would the major obstacle to doing that for all state government employees simply be the cost and physical supply of testing? And also, are there any additional specific agencies where you're looking at to expand the testing requirement?
Cost would be significant. There's no question for an employer of 28,000-ish people. What we're looking at first is where are people in the most danger, and wanting to make sure where our employees are exposed to other people the most, that we put in a monitoring program where we can find out if they have COVID and thus help them as quickly as we can. But also, I think we have a duty as state employees not to be spreading COVID to the public. So looking at those areas where we are right now, where there is the most risk, and that's looking at the same model really we use in corrections and moving from there. Will we end up at a point where there is a testing requirement across state government? We'll continue to analyze that. Certainly the amount you need to be tested and your overall risk depends on whether or not you're vaccinated. So our need to even look at this changes depending on our percentage of state employees that are vaccinated, and any program that we would put into place, your testing frequency would be much less, if at all, if you're vaccinated. Bria Jones, WFPL.
Hi, Governor. So when the monoclonal antibody supply runs out, is there a backup plan that we are aware of how doctors are going to handle, or how hospitals are going to handle giving treatments, and we don't have this very important treatment that's been shown to help a lot?
So if we look again at the chart, if you could put it up, we're only estimating right now, and we hope it's more, but we think that we're likely to get rationed somewhere between 4,000 and 4,500 treatments a week. And that which we're thinking about 4,500 a week. You can see we've already used over 5,000 in our most recent week. What that means is doctors are going to have to use other things that haven't proven to be as good as this treatment. They are going to be rationing care. They are going to have to look at individuals and make the tough decisions about who gets the best medication and who doesn't. And I mean, that's a horrendous position to be in. We can keep them from having to make that decision by getting vaccinated, because your odds of needing this treatment if you're vaccinated are very low. So we want to make sure we provide this information, which is very factual, very real, because it ought to be concerning about not only can the current Delta variant make you the sickest you've ever been, but it's making so many people that sick that we're not going to have enough of the best treatment for it for everyone. This is when our doctors, probably for the very first time, will have to ration care and pick and choose. It may be who has the best opportunity to make it. It may be based on other considerations. It may be that someone can't get a treatment just because the area they're in and how many people were there earlier that day. That's something that as an individual, you should never put yourself in a position where that might be the case, or your family members. This is just another reason to have that tough conversation to break that Thanksgiving dinner rule, because if I had a family member that wasn't vaccinated, I mean, right now, I'd be looking to call them and say, this may make you mad, but I love you. I need you to get vaccinated. Right now, you're at more risk than ever before, and you might not even be able to get the medicine you need if you get it. Josh James, WUKY.
Thank you, Governor. Here in Fayette County, our superintendent has already used 3 of the 20 extra remote days that were allotted by the legislature. If we blow through those additional remote days and potentially NTI as well, is there anything else the state can do short of a special session to increase flexibility?
You know, I think that'd be a question for KDE on what additional flexibility they may have on the regulatory side. You know, it was certainly something to see, even in the same committee of the General Assembly. We're going to trust school systems to make a public health decision that their professionals aren't even trained to make on masks, but we're not going to trust you for the way in which you provide education to your kids, which is exactly what they do. So as you've seen and what Fayette County and others are facing, there were very strict limitations that were placed on them, with I think only one active educator, now multiple active educators in the General Assembly. So it'll be a situation we'll have to really look at if it reaches that point. But KDE would be the organization that may or may not have some flexibility there. John London, WLWT, Cincinnati. Did we lose John?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you. Governor, we heard from Ohio doctors today. They had a statewide briefing about hospital staff burnout, how some staff are against getting vaccinated, how some are leaving for more lucrative compensation as traveling nurses, and how hospitals are nearing a breaking point. Sounded very similar to what Kentucky is experiencing. Is there anything else that you and the state are considering to help prop up the very strained and stressed hospital staff that you've talked about?
And we hate that any other state is experiencing what we're going through, but I think most every state to a degree is going to experience what we're going through. We saw it south of us for weeks before it hit us the hardest, and as you can see on any map, ground zero for the Delta variant is just slowly creeping north, and we expect that everybody else, because the level of vaccinations we need to stop the Delta variant from doing this type of damage are really, really high. We're looking at any and every opportunity to help our hospitals. We are running into a people shortage. That's what we're faced with. Certainly, I'm concerned with these traveling nursing agencies. I think the amount they are charging are gouging our hospitals, are hiring people away from them, and then charging them for them. One concern is if you just throw money at that from the hospital side, then all the traveling agencies do is increase what they pay, and you end up with the same problem. You end up with an even higher rate from the traveling agencies, and we don't address the underlying problem, which I think is hiring folks away from groups in crisis and then charging them ridiculous amounts for them to come back. Certainly, I think that National Guard in every state should be prepared for assistance. If I was in a state that hadn't been hit as hard yet, I would be talking directly to nursing programs on the front end to get them connected to hospitals and to even start organizing and maybe even walking through how they were going to do different things. I would start sending ventilators out to rural and regional hospitals that are out there because they're going to need them, and work with them to try to bring up their facilities as much as they can to treat sicker patients, to try to expand ICUs. But we're going to continue to listen to our hospitals, especially those in crisis, and respond as best we can. Stu Johnson, WEKU.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Governor. You mentioned earlier that you expect to report 60 deaths today. There were 49 yesterday. Earlier in the pandemic, you, in detailing deaths, would say over what period of time. Is there something about the Delta variant that is causing Kentuckians to die sooner, a faster death rate?
Well, that's interesting, and I think we'd have to look at the data on that. We hear the nurses and the doctors talking about how quickly people are passing away. In some instances, when they come into the hospital, they're a lot sicker when they show up. And I think before you would see people who would maybe seem to be getting better and then fall off a cliff. This one, people are showing up incredibly sick. Dr. Stack, you have anything to add to that? Yeah. Stu always has the Dr. Stack question.
Well, thank you, Stu, for the question. So, first of all, COVID is bad, period. It was bad since last March, and it's worse now. And the Delta variant probably sticks to your cells better, it gets into them easier, and it's more easily spread because it probably takes less of it to infect you because it's more sticky to your cells that it infects. The bottom line, though, is whether it's the original one or Alpha or Delta or some other later alphabet letter in the Greek alphabet, the infection is really bad. It overran hospitals last year. It got worse now. And what we're showing when the governor's announcing over 60 deaths in a day, there's no lag here. This is people who's died in the last 3 weeks. This is not like we're just building up a system and trying to catch up. These are people who are getting sick and dying fast. It's a bad disease. And when I drove over here from my office to the press room today, there's a Herald Leader article about a 29-year-old teacher who died. And I'm sorry, we talked the other day about what our different tones are for some of this. But I said before, people who spread misinformation about these vaccines are killing people. And sadly, there are people who are trusting the folks who are spreading that misinformation. And the headlines are filling up now with people in their 20s, in their 30s, and their 40s who are dying, who would have never died had they had a vaccine. So yes, Delta is bad. Delta is way worse than the earlier one. And on the radio this morning, some doctor from Alabama, I think, was being interviewed and talking about how this is not the same infection as last year and the previous surges. This is much worse. And if we don't want it to get even worse still, we all got to get vaccinated. And I know people aren't, there's some who have tuned out when someone like me shares that message. It's a fact. And if it gets worse and the next version is even more deadly, let's hope we don't have to get to the point where people are burying whole households in order to internalize this message that the vaccines can keep us safe. And that's what we've got to come to accept.
Melissa Patrick, Kentucky Health News.
Hi, Governor. I hate we didn't end on that note, but I am just thinking about heading into this football weekend. You know, last weekend there was barely a mask in sight at the game I attended, and a lot of screaming, a lot of spitting on each other going on. So what's the recommendation around masking and personal safety with this very contagious variant?
Our recommendation is if you are at a large event outside, you should wear a mask. That'll better protect you. I'm sure a whole lot of those people are vaccinated. You know, Fayette County and the surrounding highly vaccinated. And I get that it's outside, but with that many people that close together, I would just suggest to each person for your personal safety and those at home to put on that mask when you are, you know, in the seats surrounded by that many folks. I know folks who've gone to some of those games. I'm still trying to get comfortable with what my level is with the Delta variant and having an unvaccinated child. But certainly our recommendation, and it's up, is in large outdoor gatherings. Put that mask on. It'll protect you. We actually had one last question that was sent in from Lawrence Smith. He is asking about school districts that are not requiring masks. What is my message to those who are not mandating masks? If you are a school district that is not requiring universal masking, you are directly endangering the children, the staff, the faculty, everybody who is in each of your buildings, and it is an inexcusable decision. Every single public health agency, every one, has said that universal masking is the only way to keep kids in school. We have seen story after story after story of dead administrators and teachers, and it shouldn't take that. Anyone who is making those decisions is facing huge personal liability in the future because once they make a decision that is against all science, that is against all evidence, that is against all advice, and somebody gets hurt, they ought to expect to pay one way or another. That's how I really feel, Lawrence. All right. Thank you all very much. We'll be back on Monday.